Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlene Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara, and here are your headlines for tonight.
Sri Lanka's economy grows 4.6% in 2025. World Bank call for structural reforms. President meets IMF delegation amid key economic talks. CID reveals Khadja was in Defence Ministry during Tajuddin murder timeline. Julampitiya Amare's appeal rejected. Death sentence upheld by the Supreme Court. Couple murdered in Hungama. Suspects arrested within hours. Sri Lanka welcomes over 1.7 million tourists this year.
On to those stories in detail now. Sri Lanka's economy is showing signs of resilience with a projected growth rate of 4.6% in 2025 according to the World Bank's latest Sri Lanka Development Update titled Better Spending for All. However, the report warns that the recovery remains incomplete and uneven, with growth still below pre-crisis levels and poverty significantly elevated.
The latest Sri Lanka Development Update, Better Spending for All by the World Bank, says that Sri Lanka's recent economic performance has been strong. Despite this, the recovery remains incomplete, with growth still below pre-crisis levels and poverty significantly elevated.
We have three key messages in the Sri Lanka Development Update. The first is that recent economic performance has been strong, but the recovery is unfinished. Second, with continued macroeconomic stability and structural reforms, medium-term growth prospects can be higher. And third, with limited fiscal space and several competing needs, government spending and investment needs to be made more efficient and equitable to better serve the needs of all. So coming to the recent developments and the outlook, we see that the economy continues to recover with 4.8% growth in the first half of the year, marking 2 years of expansion since mid-2023. This has been led by the recovery in household consumption, which has majorly driven growth. High-frequency indicators have continued to show continuous improvement. On the external sector, the balances have remained resilient. The current account balance has been positive so far in the year, driven mostly by tourism and remittances, even though merchandise trade deficit has widened compared to previous years.
The report highlights that while inflation is low and external inflows are strong, food prices remain high, foreign reserves are growing slowly, and poverty levels are still double what they were in 2019.
Poverty has begun to decline in 2025, and we expect around 22.5% of the population to be below the poverty line this year, and another 10% just above the poverty line, which indicates high vulnerability to shocks. In particular, continuous food price rises have been a challenge and contributed to food insecurity, and we can also see this with higher underweight and stunted children under 5, which is another worrying trend. The labor market has begun to recover but not reached pre-crisis levels, both in terms of the labor force participation but also the real wages, both in the public and private sectors. So this is something that we are looking at keenly. Going forward, the outlook is quite positive. The path, however, is narrow, so a lot depends on what happens in the next few years. In 2025, we project strong growth for Sri Lanka, with a slight tapering off in 2026 and 27, but again, this depends on the implementation of structural reforms and the external environment and how that shapes up.
The report calls for urgent structural reforms, including easing barriers to trade and investment, improving the business environment, modernizing tax administration, reforming land and labor market regulations.
Right now, there's multiple legislation that goes back even 60, 70 years that investors and firms have to wade through. And as a result, this means firms and potential hirers of labor are a bit more cautious about taking on labor. And also it has implications, particularly for female labor force participation, which is something we've highlighted and stressed on many occasions. that this is to some extent and sort of a low-hanging fruit, easy win in really trying to bring more competitiveness into the labour force. Management of state land in particular. Sri Lanka is about sort of 80% owned by the state, but you find that there's these sort of overlapping mandates. There's not necessarily coordination. It's unclear sometimes which institutions manage and own what land. This makes it difficult for investors. It affects sort of farmers' agriculture productivity, and also ultimately the sustainable use and management of land, which is something we also emphasize and discuss further in the report.
A key focus is on public spending efficiency, with over 80% of government expenditure tied to salaries, welfare and interest payments. The report urges reforms to manage the public wage bill with fairer pay structures and modern payroll systems, prioritize infrastructure gaps, improve project planning and monitoring, increase funding for maintenance of existing infrastructure. The Sri Lanka Development Update is a companion piece to the South Asia Development Update, a twice-yearly World Bank report that examines economic developments and prospects in the South Asia region and analyzes policy challenges countries face. President Anurukumar Dissanayake held a high-level discussion this morning with representatives of the International Monetary Fund at the Presidential Secretariat as part of the 5th review of Sri Lanka's ongoing debt restructuring program ahead of the release of the 6th tranche of IMF support. During the meeting, President Dissanayake reaffirmed the government's commitment to reviving and stabilizing the economy, stating that the administration has a strategic roadmap to guide the country from bankruptcy toward sustainable development. The President had noted that the IMF support is deeply valued in the journey to economic recovery, adding that the government is focused on exceeding the targets set by the IMF to position Sri Lanka as a resilient and investment-ready economy. He emphasized the importance of creating a conducive environment for both domestic and foreign investors, noting that economic revitalization depends on attracting capital and fostering confidence in Sri Lanka's financial systems. The IMF delegation in turn commended the steps taken by the government to stabilize the economy and discussed future policy measures required to maintain momentum and ensure long-term fiscal discipline.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposits. Valuable FD, 10.25% for 15 months, 11% for 24 months. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability.
It has been revealed that Aruna Vidanagamage, also known as Migasare Khadja, was employed at the Ministry of Defence during the time of the murder of rugby player Wasim Tajuddin. The Criminal Investigation Department stated that further details are emerging in the ongoing investigation into Tajuddin's murder.
On May the 17th of 2012, prior to the murder of rugby player Wasim Tajuddin, the wife of slain Aruna Vidanagamage, also known as Migasare Khadja, had stated during a testimony to the Criminal Investigation Department that her late husband was among the group that followed rugby player Wasim Tajuddin prior to his murder on 17th of May 2012. Later, Migasare Khadja's son and other relatives challenged this statement, issuing various counterclaims. Meanwhile, the CID has launched an investigation into the locations where Migasare Khadja was present on the day of Tajuddin's murder, analysing mobile phone data records. It has also been revealed that Sampath Manamperi, a former local council candidate from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, has claimed that to have provided the firearm used in the murder of Migasare Khadja. Manamperi is currently being held under a 90-day detention order by the Western North Crimes Division and is being interrogated. The Western North Crimes Division informed the Colombo Magistrates Court that the suspect is also being questioned in connection with a drug trafficking network operating in the Middenia area and submitted a B report related to the investigation. The Supreme Court of Sri Lanka upheld the death sentence imposed by the Tangol High Court on G.G. Amarasekara, widely known as Julampiti Amare, for his conviction in a double murder that occurred in 2012. The ruling was delivered by a bench comprising Justices Janak De Silva, Sobita Rajakaruna and Sampath Wijeratna, who dismissed the appeal filed by Amare's legal team seeking acquittal and release. The appeal was rejected without being taken up for a full hearing, thereby confirming the original sentence. Amare was found guilty of opening fire at a political rally organised by the Janata Vimukti Peramuna in Katuwana, resulting in the deaths of 2 individuals and causing critical injuries to another. Following the lengthy trial, the Tangol High Court sentenced him to death in 2019.
Government and opposition parliamentarians expressed their views in Parliament regarding ongoing criminal investigations.
We saw
the criminal known as Amare from Julampitiya behind the Prince of Ice, a well-known criminal. Southern politics has long been shaped by such individuals. Now, when figures like Vambota Kajja reappear, we see discomfort among those affiliated with certain political movements. What was once glorified as gunfire has now turned into tears for those parties. These crimes have even infiltrated the realm of sports.
DV Chanak ඇමතුමාලා අපි නිතරම මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඇහුවා එදා කන්ටේනර් පෙට්ටි 323ක්
DV Chanaka and others have repeatedly raised questions in this parliament. Back then 323 container boxes were released. Today the same government that speaks of containers of ice arriving in the country is trying to label other parties. Deputy Speaker, we ask who is responsible for releasing those 323 containers, especially the report from the committee appointed by the President. We requested it be tabled in Parliament, but it still hasn't been.
අද වෙනකන් එක සභාගත කළ නැහැ.
මිදෙනිය කජ්ජා ගැන පරිශන කරනකොට එළි වෙනවා. ඔව් තාජුඩීන් ඝාතනය වෙලාවේ ඔහුගේ වහනේ බස්සෙන් ගිහපු කෙනෙක් කියලා.
During investigations into Kajja, it was revealed that he was one of the individuals trailing Wasim Tajuddin's vehicle at the time of the murder. A month before his murder, he had claimed to know everything about the Rajapaksas and threatened to expose it. This is like a multi-headed serpent that came to destroy us. When one head is cut off, 2 more appear. That is why Hercules used a special method. He burned the neck with a flaming sword to prevent new heads from growing. We have been heating the sword for the past 8 months. Now, we have begun the process of destroying this serpent.
පහුගේ මාස 8ක් තිස්සේ අපි කඩුව ගිනියම් කරා. දැන් අපි මේ ඔලුනමේ සර්පයා විනාශ කරන්න පටන් ගන්න තියෙනවා.
ඔයාලා බලය ගන්න පාවිච්චි කරපු උත්තේජනය මොකද්ද? හොරු අල්ලනවා කියප එක. හොරුන්ට දනුවම් දෙනවා කියප එක. හැබැයි අද මොකද්ද ඒ හොරු කරන්නේ?
What was the excitement you used to gain power? Catching thieves, pushing criminals. But what are those thieves doing today? Y'all are inciting those who named the minor, and they in turn are fighting action. Y'all said that those groups will be jailed, and now that group is asking to be jailed. One leader couldn't be jailed. He is the one who brought in drugs, supported the underworld and dealt in weapons. You can talk all you want, but the people are watching. You hold power, the government and the justice ministry, but all you do is talk while the opposition speaks the truth.
කියවරෝ විතරයි කියන කාරණේ මතක තියාගන්න. අපි අල්ලනවා හොරු අල්ලනවා විතරක් නෙවෙයි. മന്ത്രിකම කෝටි 8කට විකුණපු අයගෙත් අපි ඉතිහාසයේ හොයලා බලලා අල්ලස් කොමිසම
කාලේ අවසానයි ගරු ඇමති.
We are not just catching thieves. We are investigating those who sold their parliamentary seats in courtyards. The President himself initiated the independent investigation into the container case. That is why these people are now shouting. We will continue the investigation. In the Wasim Tajuddin murder case, key evidence was suppressed. Now we are tracking down Kajja. However, certain individuals outside are becoming nervous, likely those with political ties. Kajja may be suspect number 2 or 3. These people are anxious because their past wrongdoings are haunting them. They are having nightmares seeing the consequences of their past actions. That is why they are rushing to hold press conferences. We are investigating who supported Kajja back then. The CID is now tracing the route taken by the killer after the murder, analyzing phone data and conducting thorough triangulation. Why are those outside so nervous?
ඊට අදාළ මැදිහත් වීමක් දැන් අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව කරනවා.
ගරු ඇමතිතුමනි.
ඇයි මේ එළියේ ඉන්න කට්ටිය කලබලේ?
Minister of Public Security Ananda Vijaypala has clarified that there are no legal provisions under the Presidential Entitlements Act to reduce the security detail of vehicles allocated to former presidents of Sri Lanka. The minister made this statement in response to recent public discourse surrounding the return of vehicles assigned to former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa has returned a bulletproof luxury vehicle and a Defender-type Jeep to the Presidential Secretariat. The Presidential Secretariat received the luxury vehicle while it was undergoing maintenance.
Mahinda Rajapaksa කියන්නේ ලෝක ඉතිහාසය වෙනස් කරපු ලෝක ඉතිහාසයේ යුද්ධයකින් යුද්ධය අවසන් කරපු එකම නායකයා.
Mahinda Rajapaksa is the only leader in world history who ended a war that changed global history. We do not need to debate the threats to his life. Today, LTTE sympathizers, the Tamil diaspora and other groups are targeting his life through this government as a consequence of the defeat they suffered due to the end of the war. Therefore, Deputy Speaker, I believe that if he requires the bulletproof vehicle again, the decision to provide it should not be made by us in this chamber, but by the government. The responsibility of ensuring his security lies with the government.
Minister of Public Security Ananda Vijaypal emphasized that there is no legal barrier to providing vehicles and security if requested.
පහුගිය දිනක මේ සභාවේදී අනුමත වුණා විශ්‍රාමික ජනාධිපතිතුරුන්ගේ හිමිකම් පනත. ඒ හිමිකම් පනත
Recently, this chamber passed the Act on the Entitlements of Retired Presidents. Under this Act, some privileges have already been returned. However, the Act does not cover matters related to security. Therefore, some of the security vehicles previously used by former presidents have already been returned, while certain entitlements must be handed back under the Act. Providing security remains the responsibility of the government. If former presidents make a request for security-related vehicles or other provisions, the government is ready to consider it. Hence, I wish to inform this chamber that the government will continue to ensure security provisions that are not covered under the Entitlements Act.
හිමිකම් පනත යටතේ නොගැනෙන ආරක්ෂාව දිගින් දිගටම තාවුරු කරන්න ආණ්ඩුව හැටියට අපි කටයුතු කරන බව ගරු කතානායකතුමනි මේ සභාවට දැනුම් දෙන්න කැමැතියි.
Newsfirst with the people.
Opposition MP Dayasiri Jayasekara raised a privilege issue in Parliament regarding the appointment process of Ranga Disanayake as the Director General of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption.
During
the review of recommendations submitted to the Constitutional Council, extensive discussions were held regarding the nominations made by former High Court Judge Wasantha Vimalasiri Jinadasa, Governor of the North Central Province, and Champa Janaki Rajaratna, Governor of the Sabaragamulla Province. Given that the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption is an independent institution, the fact that these recommendations came from politically appointed governors raises concerns of political interference. Notably, these governors were officially gazetted on the 27th of September 2024. The recommendations for High Court Judge Ranga Disanayake were issued under their official letterheads, which further supports the argument that these were politically influenced endorsements. The first discussion on this matter took place on the 3rd of January 2025, during which the Constitutional Council decided to forward 3 names to the President. Metsiri Madhava Tednakon as the first nominee, Ranga Disanayake as the second, and Iresha Subhashini Sirivardhana as the third. On the 7th of January 2025, the Council reconvened and it was stated that the Attorney General had advised the Speaker to either hold a vote or make a decision regarding this matter. During these discussions, Bimal Ratnayake stated that the governors who signed the recommendations were retired judges and not political appointees. Based on that belief, Professor Dinesha Samararatna, a member of the Constitutional Council, cast her vote in favour of Ranga Disanayake. However, the Gazette dated 24th September 2024 confirms that these individuals were serving as governors at the time. Upon realizing this, Professor Dinesha Samararatna submitted a sworn statement via email to the Speaker, expressing her objection to the circumstances under which she cast her vote. According to Section 4 of the Parliament Powers and Privileges Act, presenting false information to mislead a parliamentary committee is a serious offence. It appears that Bimal Ratnayake knowingly committed this offence and the Speaker too is implicated. As the head of this Supreme Parliament and its presiding officer, both have caused significant damage to the dignity of the entire House.
සභානායකවරයා ලෙසත් ඔවුන් දෙදෙනාම සමස්ත පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ගෞරවයට බලවත් හානියක් සිදු කර ඇත. ගරු දයාසිරි ජයසේකර මහතා විසින් මතු කරන ලද මේ වරප්‍රසාද ප්‍රශ්නය තුලින් වරප්‍රසාද කඩවීම සිදු වී තිබෙද්දී පිළිබඳව මා පසුව තීරණය කරමි.
මේ bribery commission එක පිළිබඳව
Dayasiri Jayasekara has raised a serious issue regarding the bribery commission. There is an entry in the bribery commission's records concerning a member of the Constitutional Council who approved this nomination. No investigation has been conducted into this matter so far. There are cases pending in the bribery commission against ministers from the National People's Power, yet no questions are being raised about them. Just last week, we saw that Lakmali Hemachandra's father has a case pending in the bribery commission, but again, no action has been taken. Additionally, there is an unresolved case involving a bank robbery in Batiklo.
ඒ පිළිබඳව නෑ. ඊට අමතරව අවසන් කරනවා. මඩකලපුවේ බැංකුවක් මංකොල්ල කාපු
ගරු කතානායකතුමනි ඔබතුමා වරප්‍රසාද ප්‍රශ්නයක් මතු කරන්න දයසිරි ජයසේකර මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ඊට ලබා දුන්නා. ඊට පස්සේ ඔබතුමාගේ තීන්දුව කිව්වා.
Speaker, you allowed Honorable Dayasiri Jayasekara to raise a privilege issue and you have already stated your decision. If this matter is now turned into a full debate with everyone adding their own points, it will lose its meaning. What is clear in this confusion is that when investigations are being conducted by the bribery commission, those who are implicated begin to speak out. That should not be allowed in Parliament. It took several days for you to announce your decision regarding the privilege issue.
දවස් කීපයක් ඇතුළතදී මේ වරප්‍රසාද ප්‍රශ්නෙට
10th January 2025, High Court Judge Ranga Disanayake appointed as Director General of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. In the months that followed, former Minister Kehlia Rambukwella and members of his family faced allegations of corruption, money laundering and unlawful acquisition of assets. Former State Minister Shashindra Rajapaksa was accused of forcibly acquiring state property and causing damage, leading to a compensation claim. He remains in remand custody. Former Minister Rajita Senaratne was charged over irregular transactions in a government project. Former Mayor of Moratuwa Samanlal Fernando faced allegations of improper dealings in awarding a project contract. Neville Vanyarachi, Chief Security Officer to former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, was charged with unlawful accumulation of assets. He is still in remand custody. An investigation was launched into former Minister Manusha Nanayakara. Senior Police Officer Satish Shiare faced bribery allegations. Former Director General of the Urban Development Authority Sampath Ratnayaka and former Director of Lands Veeravansa Pereira were charged under the Bribery Act. Several previously dormant high-profile investigations were reopened. A wave of new investigations was also initiated. For your attention.
In response to a statement made by Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca over the weekend, the Sri Lanka Pothujana Peramuna held a media briefing.
අපි සරත් ෆොන්සේක මහත්තයා ගැන පුදුම වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
We are not surprised by Sarath Fonseca. Just 12 days before retirement, he was appointed army commander and played a role in ending the war under President Mahinda Rajapaksa's leadership. But now, he is tarnishing the respect he earned as a war hero by chasing positions in this government and barking for a post. If Fonseca thinks he can't secure a ministerial post or any position by barking like this, then he should bark louder.
මේ ආණ්ඩුවෙන් ගන්න බැරි නම් තව හොඳට බුරන්න.
මතක තියාගන්න සරත් ෆොන්සේක මහත්තයෝ මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා විජේරාම නිවසින් එළෙව්වම
Let's not forget when Mahinda Rajapaksa was forced out of the Vijayarama residence. People still flocked to see Mahinda. Why? Because even an aging lion doesn't eat grass. A lion in its cave is still a lion. Fonseca needs to understand that. Now, he's saying Mahinda should be hung by both legs. If Sarath Fonseca says Mahinda should be hung by both legs, I'm ready to ask the people of this country. This is the same man who once claimed the entire military committed war crimes, who betrayed our soldiers to international human rights accusations. A man who made such treacherous statements shouldn't just be hung by his legs. I won't say how, but the people will know what he deserves. At one point, opposition organizer Joseph Michael Pereira said on BBC that Sarath Fonseca was behind the team that carried out the Lasantha Wickramatunge assassination. I suspect that this sudden outburst against Mahinda Rajapaksa may be an attempt to distract from those allegations.
මෙතෙන්දී කියනවා ලසන්ත වික්‍රමතුංග ඝාතනය කරන්න සරත් ෆොන්සේක තමයි ටීම් එකක් දැම්මේ කියලා. මට සැකයක් තියෙනවා එක සැරේට මාලිමා ආණ්ඩුවේ වෙනුවෙන් මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂට බැන බැන බුරන්න මේ තරම් මෙතුමා පෙළඹෙව්වේ සමහරක් වෙලාවට Tamanta දින මේ චෝදනා වසන් කරගන්නද කියන සැකයක් මට මතුවෙනවා.
This is the statement made by Sarath Sarath Fonseca during the weekend.
I have witnessed firsthand how the Rajapaksas have spread corruption across this country. A vast corrupt network has gripped the nation, infiltrating every space where large sums of money circulate. This network is not only domestic, it is being managed internationally as well, and at its core are the Rajapaksas. Brothers, sons, fathers, uncles, all of them are involved in controlling this entire corrupt system. That is why corruption in this country has broken through all boundaries. You don't need to look far. Even a trader in Peta ends up entangled in their corrupt web. That is the reality we are living in. For these corrupt individuals, this system is like blood to a leopard. They won't let go no matter what. Even if you put them in 1,000 prisons, they won't release their grip. These days, we see the president making a serious effort introducing new legislation, cutting back privileges and demanding the return of state assets from the Rajapaksas. There are 2 or 3 of them, and what are they saying now? One says he is leaving tomorrow, another says he wants a couple more weeks. The one who said he is leaving tomorrow comes back and says he needs 2 more months. They won't leave. They're like tenants who refuse to vacate. Mahinda Rajapaksa spent 50 million rupees repairing that house with your money. Do they really think they will use their own money to even buy a coconut scraper? If Mahinda Rajapaksa and his lawyer have even a shred of intelligence, then based on the foolish statement they made, if I were the Justice Minister, the first case I would file against Mahinda would be for misappropriating valuable items from the presidential residence during the election. Those assets from the temple tree should be the basis of the first case. Within 24 hours, he could be taken into custody.
A woman and a man were brutally hacked to death inside a house in Hungama early this morning. According to police, 4 suspects, including the main suspect, have been taken into custody in connection with the double homicide.
Pasindu Heshan, also known as Bo Pasindu, and a woman named Imesha Madhubashini were brutally murdered inside a house in the Vadigala area of Ronna, Hungama. The 2 victims had been temporarily residing at the house. According to police, 5 individuals with their faces covered forcibly entered the residence and carried out the killings using sharp weapons. Bo Pasindu had previously faced multiple criminal charges, including drug-related offences. He had recently been released on bail just days ago in connection with an ongoing criminal case. Both victims were 28 years old. Police have arrested 4 suspects in connection with the double homicide. Among them is the main suspect, Saman Kumara, also known as Adupalane Bindu. Investigations reveal that Bindu and Bo Pasindu had once been close associates but had fallen out due to a dispute involving the deceased woman. Police further stated that Bindu had previously attempted to kill Bo Pasindu, during which he sustained serious injuries. Bindu himself is reportedly facing charges related to murder and drug trafficking.
In more local news, Sri Lanka recorded over 1.7 million tourist arrivals so far in 2025.
According to Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, Sri Lanka's tourism industry continues its upward trajectory, with 1,725,494 international visitors arriving in the country during the year to date. In September alone, the island welcomed 158,971 tourists, reflecting sustained global interest in Sri Lanka as a travel destination. India remains the leading source of tourists, contributing 375,292 arrivals so far this year. Significant numbers have also arrived from the United Kingdom, Russia, Germany and China, each surpassing the 100,000 mark.
In celebration of the Golden Jubilee year of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, the Colombo Stock Exchange trading floor was opened by the President of the Bar Association with the symbolic ringing of the bell.
A special ceremony took place at the Colombo Stock Exchange to mark the Golden Jubilee year of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka with the ringing of the symbolic bell to open its trading floor.
As we celebrate our Golden Jubilee, the BSL commits to evolving in tandem with the ambitions of our economy. We must push forward for legal modernization, digital courts, e-filings, dispute resolution reforms, commercial law enhancements, and greater alignment with global standards. We must deepen the dialogue between the legal profession, regulators, and market operators. And we must guard always the independence of the judiciary and the integrity of our institutions, for those are the anchors of confidence on which investment depends. Just as the Colombo Stock Exchange has broken historical thresholds, so too must the justice sector break barriers to elevate access, fairness, and international institutional capacity. As I mentioned before, both our institutions are ones that must take responsibility in the driving of our economy and the development of our country to that of a developed nation. When we succeed, we can be content that we did our part, but until then, we must be mindful that we have a responsibility towards our citizenry and our future generations, which must and shall be more important than profits, distribution of dividends or fees that we may charge.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Colombo Stock Exchange also shared his views.
For half a century, as we heard, the Bar Association has stood as a beacon of integrity and fairness, carrying forward, I think, a very proud legal tradition spanning over 2 centuries and representing, as we heard again, over 26,000 members that you have. The legal counsel provided by the members of the Bar has been instrumental in upholding good corporate governance, fostering transparency, and ensuring that justice and fairness remains at the heart of our country. Indeed, the rule of law, championed and preserved by the Bar Association, which we have seen over and over again in the last few years, has been the silent guarantor of facilitating business. We stand aligned with the Bar Association's enduring commitment to professionalism, integrity, and, of course, upholding the rule of law. I believe that both our institutions share a singular mission to uphold trust. Trust in markets, trust in institutions, and trust in systems that will power national growth. As our capital market continues to advance, the role of the members of the Bar Association will be ever more pivotal. We also believe that the Bar Association of Sri Lanka will continue to maintain a culture of good governance, preserving the integrity of the corporate sector, and of course guiding the next generation of legal professionals to uphold the highest standards in both practice and in counsel.
The inaugural session of the International Business Networking meeting was held in Colombo.
The inaugural session of the International Business Networking meeting was graced by Hanif Yusuf, Governor of the Western Province, together with delegates from India, Pakistan, Malaysia, Bangladesh and representatives from government regulatory institutions and the business community.
So Sri Lanka's turnaround from 3 years ago is nothing but incredible. Our inflation today, actually we are growing at a rate above the IMF predictions. Our inflation today is below 1%. Our reserves have climbed from minus 1.5 billion to 6.1 billion. Our merchandise and service exports are growing at 7%. So I welcome you to come and set up business and joint ventures here. I can assure one thing, that we are committed. We are not racial. All of us are equal sons of the soil. So welcome to Sri Lanka. Enjoy the country. Enjoy the spirit of the business and come and do business.
The event was organized by the Lanka Business Alliance, which is a dynamic initiative established to foster collaboration among individuals, institutions and corporate sectors within Sri Lanka with the vision to expand globally. Recognizing the pivotal role of networking in today's business environment, the LBA seeks to create platforms that encourage innovation, partnerships and sustainable economic growth.
2 years have passed since the escalation of the Israel-Gaza conflict. Over 67,000 Palestinians have lost their lives and more than 169,000 have been injured in the Gaza Strip. Amid this devastating toll, talks between Israel and Hamas have now begun.
Indirect talks aimed at reaching a final agreement on a US peace plan to end the war in Gaza continues in Egypt. Palestinians and Egyptian officials have told foreign media that the sessions are focused on creating the field conditions for a possible exchange that would see the release of all Israeli hostages in return of a number of Palestinian prisoners. Israel's Prime Minister said that he hoped to announce the release of hostages in the coming days. As the officials met on Monday, US President Donald Trump told reporters at the White House, quote, "We have a really good chance of making a deal, and it'll be a lasting deal," unquote. Hamas has said it agrees to the peace plan proposals in part, but has not responded to several key demands, including its disarmament and not having any future role in the governance of Gaza. A senior Israeli security source said the talks initially would focus only on the release of hostages and give Hamas a few days to complete that phase. The second day of the talks, which will see Egyptian and Qatari officials holding shuttle meetings with the delegations from both Israel and Hamas separately, will be taking place on the second anniversary of the Hamas-led attack on southern Israel on 7th of October 2023, in which about 1,200 people were killed and 251 others were taken hostage.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has decided to award the Nobel Prize in Physics 2025 for the discovery of macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling and energy quantization in an electric circuit.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has awarded the 2025 Nobel Prize in Physics to John Clark, Michael H. Deverett and John M. Martinez for work on quantum mechanical tunneling.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has today decided to award the 2025 Nobel Prize in Physics to John Clark, University of California at Berkeley, USA, Michel Devereux, Yale University and University of California at Santa Barbara, USA, and John Martinez, University of California at Santa Barbara, USA, for the discovery of macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling and energy quantization in an electric circuit.
The award, announced by the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences on Tuesday, will be presented to the trio in December for the discovery of macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling and energy quantization in an electric circuit. The prize awarding body said in a statement that the trio's experiments demonstrated that quantum mechanical properties can be made concrete on a macroscopic scale. The prize of 11 million Swedish krona is to be shared equally between the three, all of whom are based in the United States. The King of Sweden will also present them with gold medals.
France's President Emmanuel Macron faced growing pressure to resign or hold a snap parliamentary election to end political chaos that has forced the resignation of 5 prime ministers in less than 2 years.
The 47-year-old centrist president has repeatedly said he will see out his second term, which ends in 2027. But resignation calls, long confined to the fringes, have entered the mainstream during one of the world's political crises since the 1958 creation of the Fifth Republic, France's current system of government. Today, as Macron's outgoing Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu held last-ditch talks to form a new government, his first premier in 2017, Edouard Philippe, said it was time for a new president to break the deadlock. Speaking to foreign media, Philippe said Macron should be leaving in an orderly manner to allow a way out of the crisis. Political turmoil in the Eurozone's second-largest economy was front-page news across Europe at a time when US President Donald Trump is demanding the continent to do more to show up its own defenses and aid Ukraine. Markets have taken fright, with investors keeping a close eye on France's ability to cut a yawning budget deficit. French stocks fell 1.4% on Monday, and the risk premium on French government bond yields rose to a 9-month high on the crisis.
The 2025 ICC Women's World Cup clash between England and Bangladesh is underway in Guwahati, India. Chasing a target of 179 runs for victory, England are currently on 169 runs for the loss of 6 wickets a short while ago.
England won the toss and elected to field first. The Bangladesh innings got off to a shaky start, losing their first wicket at 24 runs with captain Nigar Sultana dismissed for a duck. Sharmeen Akhtar contributed 30 runs while the top order struggled, collapsing to 108 for 5 at one stage. The innings was held together by a resilient 60-run knock from Soban Mostri, who anchored the middle order before the side was eventually bowled out for 178 runs in 49.4 overs.
Here again tonight, 3 wickets for her. In the words, that 5 positions too low.
All matches of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup 2025 are being broadcast live on TV1, the official local broadcasting rights holder of the tournament, and streamed via www.sirasatv.lk.
Yes, I'd say. And England are 20.
Up next is beautiful Sri Lanka, where we travel to Crocodile Rock.
Just a 30-minute drive from Arugam Bay, nestled between serene lagoons and lush paddy fields, lies one of Sri Lanka's most enchanting natural landmarks, Crocodile Rock, locally known as Kimbulagala. Named for its striking resemblance to a resting crocodile, this rock formation has become a favorite among nature lovers, photographers and adventure seekers. The surrounding landscape, a blend of coastal beauty, wetlands and agricultural charm, amplifies the magic of the location, offering a panoramic view that's both tranquil and wild. Located near a sensitive ecological zone, Crocodile Rock is also a haven for wildlife enthusiasts, with frequent sightings of exotic birds, elephants and other animals that roam freely in the area.
Beautiful Sri Lanka.
That's wrap up Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for watching.
Good night.